The following podcast may contain adult language and no salt at all. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking the 20th anniversary of Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast, where we get to talk about one of the best movies ever made, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. It is the 20th anniversary, and we decided that this is one of those movies that just deserves as much attention as we can give it. I am joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader is here. Welcome, sir.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm good, too.
I should have just left it one more week.
Gimli, bro, come on, man.
I'm sorry.
Jude was going to braid you up, give you a little helmet. Matt probably would have gotten the sword off the wall.
Dude, I love this movie.
It's so good. Jude is here.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah? You look all right.
You're smoking hot today.
As opposed to all the other days.
She's simmering today, dude.
Almost boiling.
Thanks,
And frustrated producer of the show, Matt Kadish.
Vader likes it when he can't see your eyes. But I'm very excited to talk about this movie from the director of Bad Taste.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up.
I think it's going to be pretty epic. Yeah.
It just goes to show that you can make the world's worst movie
and the world's best movie.
Nice.
That's
Peter Jackson.
Bad Taste is not a bad movie.
Peter Jackson is one of the best of all
He's
time.
a legend, for
Absolutely.
sure. He gets, even if he makes like 3 or 4 shitty movies, I'll always go, well, he did make Lord of the Rings. So
you know what he also made? He made that movie with Michael J. Fox with the
The
ghosts.
Frighteners. Yeah.
Love that movie. We need
Love
to
that
talk about that movie.
I've never
someday.
seen it.
Yeah.
It'll be a first watch for me. Is it a sequel or is it an
No,
original?
it's just
it's
it's
just
on
a
its
movie.
own.
So I don't have to go watch something else before that.
Thank you for asking, though. Good for you.
It was actually, that was the movie that led him to create Weta Studios that led to The Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
We're going to get like 6 degrees to Lord of the
I
Rings
know.
from Kadish
We're
today.
going to have to rail him in a little
Yeah,
bit.
a little bit.
Because we don't want to go for 4 hours. We have one.
I could talk about this movie for 8
I-
hours.
Yeah,
we all could. We all could.
We all could.
100%.
Would you
Yes.
like to know what it's about?
Let's take a quick break real quick,
Okay.
and then we'll get back to it. So we're going to take a break. We're listening to some sponsors. Jude's going to take it away. We're going to get into the synopsis and have a ton of fun. So hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, real quick, before we get into it, go to saltynerdclub.com. This month of December only, we are doing a 50-slot limited edition hat that goes along with our $30 tier. The Superstars out there. So if you want to support the podcast, jump into our Superstar tier. You guys get an exclusive hat and a certificate of authenticity from us, and you get labeled as a Saltine, and you also get Discord access with a special chat just for you guys. So it's a ton of content, guys. You have a whole library of exclusive content. Plus, we're doing 4 episodes a month just for our club members. And starting in 2022, we're doing legacy sci-fi like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Stargate, all kinds of really cool stuff. So jump in. It's a great time to get on the ground level and help support us in our dream of doing this full time.
They also get a whole library of us being completely inappropriate and not worthy of stuff of being on the actual show.
Well, worthy? I think it's more worthy, but it's like
It's actually our better
we could
material.
probably get removed.
All of my good material is on Patreon.
Yes. You are too offensive to be on
Because
YouTube.
I am like a very offensive person.
Yeah, this is...
Why do you think that makes it better?
Because it's
All right. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Jude, take it away.
2001, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours, 58 minutes. This had a budget of $93 million. What do you think it made?
Billion.
oh,
2 billion.
I can't even fathom a guess. I can't. I don't know. $1 billion.
Okay, almost. $897 million.
Nice.
Yeah, well, in 2021 dollars, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still one of the most popular movies ever
I
made.
still can't believe that this is a 20-year-old movie.
I know. It's
Dude, it doesn't look like it at all.
You know what? I was
freaking me out.
dreading watching this just because of the length. I was like, oh, God.
Have you?
3 hours. I haven't watched it, I don't think, since I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So I wasn't looking forward to it because I was like, God, we watch so much content to make the podcast. So like just designating 3 hours out of my week was just like, oh God, I'm just dreading that. And like by the time it ended, I was like, oh, I really want to watch the next one.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
Jude
forgot
was sad
how
that it was
much
over.
I love this movie.
Yeah,
That's
this
awesome.
this is one of those movies that I've seen so many times in the last 20 years. I did not have to rewatch it for our show, but I did anyway. But I just kind of like how I watched it is when I get home from work at midnight, I just turned it on when I was crashing, and I'd watch it for 45 minutes and fall asleep, and I'd watch it over like 3 nights this week. So
I have like the special edition DVDs.
Yeah, I do too.
So in addition to the like extended cut. They've also got like commentaries and documentaries and all that stuff. Like I can remember when those came out, like I bought them right away and I just tore through them, and they're so fascinating.
I can't wait till we review the next one.
next
Is it
December.
2 years, right? Or is it 1 year apart?
They were 1 year apart.
Okay, so
20th anniversary of Return of the King is
not Return of the King.
No, of the Two Towers is next year.
Yeah.
Return
So
of the
we'll have
every
revisit
December
those
for the
every
next
December.
2 years. Yeah.
Nice, right on, cool. I watched this probably twice before the podcast, but this is like a regular watch for me. It's on HBO.
Oh yeah.
So I have it downloaded on my phone, so I can just watch it.
Yeah, if HBO Max has the extended director's cut and the theatrical cut both. So and it's like $4.99 or something a month.
This is like
it's worth it to watch. Just get the sub for HBO Max one time just to watch these movies. Totally worth it. So yeah.
Any way you can watch these movies is awesome. So Jude, what is this movie all about?
I'm glad you asked, sir. When an evil dark lord creates the season's must-have accessory, everyone wants a taste of the ring that would rule. Frodo Baggins and his best pals set out on a journey for fashion, adventure, and heroism. Frodo's just a hobbit, but even the smallest person can change the course of the world. When the evil fashion designer Saruman threatens to steal the derelict designs, Gandalf in grey couture stands against him and the Balrog in an epic runway walk-off that only one shall pass. With Blue Steel, Bootstrap Bill Jr., and Vigo at the helm, the model/friends trudge ahead, knowing not orc nor wraith, nor the evil Mugatu will stand in the way of the pioneers of the precious.
Oh my God.
I've never heard of anybody comparing.
That was the weirdest.
Mixing Zoolander.
I know. That was the weirdest thing she's ever
I was
done.
really drunk last night.
Hey, is Vigo?
Is he in this?
Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Listen, anyone named Vigo is getting Vigo forever.
God, I hate Ghostbusters 2 so much.
What is Vigo?
Okay, so
I can't heap enough praise on this movie.
I can't either. I'm just trying to think. I'm like, okay, so first of all, growing up watching this movie, I had no idea about how like it was all made, how they did all the movie magic and stuff like that. And then as I got older, I learned the technique that they used to make the hobbits look small and the full-grown.
They had a little dude and a normal dude.
It was that plus
forced perspective.
Forced perspective.
Yeah.
When I saw a documentary showing how they did the forced perspective thing, it freaking blew my mind, dude.
I mean, that's true, like old school filmmaking stuff. And you got to remember, like the time frame in which this came out. Like fantasy films weren't a big thing. The Matrix had come out a couple years beforehand that kind of revitalized or like changed the special effects landscape. And then the Phantom Menace came out, and they were doing a lot of stuff. And Peter Jackson actually went and visited the George Lucas ranch, where George Lucas took him through their pre-visualization stage, which was where they would have like computer-generated storyboards, essentially, where they would kind of map out like special effects shots beforehand using like very rudimentary CGI. And that was like revolutionary at the time, as was the use of high definition film cameras as opposed to like actually shooting on film. And so like the idea that this movie came out just as special effects were kind of like coming into their own, where like CGI was beginning to reach its true potential is incredible. There, in fact, Weta, which was Peter Jackson's own special effects house, developed a program called Massive, which allowed them to create like these huge armies that we see in this movie that previously like it was impossible to do that and have it look like photorealistic and also like not spend like a billion years rendering and stuff like that. So this movie was like super like ahead of its time on so many different fronts. But the fact that Peter Jackson had to incorporate like kind of like old school techniques with these like new like groundbreaking
that's the
methods.
the real sign of like a great filmmaker is you can mix practical effects with the CGI and merge them seamlessly.
This was the start of the almost seamless, perfect mesh between real life and CGI. And you know, I mean, I think Gollum. I think they won an Oscar for
Gollum was
Gollum
barely
effects, right?
in this movie.
He was barely in this movie.
Can't wait for the next one because I love Gollum.
There's so much to love about this movie. I mean, to me, this movie was, at least for me personally, this was the last movie that I was ever a huge, massive fanboy nerd over. I followed the development of this movie for like 2 years before it was even released. From the time they started putting this thing together, I was on the OneRing.net. I was on all the message boards. I was on the websites. I was, pre-ordering stuff. I ordered. They had this like medallion of the month club thing where you got these really cool like medallion plaques that they like did all this stuff and it was
Vader. Do you
it was hard to
remember
describe.
when the trailer for this first
It
came
was
out?
awesome. It was absolutely amazing.
It broke records. It got like over like 1 million downloads within like 3 hours or something like that.
Everybody was like, "Holy shit!" I mean, the only thing I could compare it to was like maybe when Star Wars came out. By the time like Return of the Jedi came out, and everybody was just like huge nerds, and that was a different era. And this was like the start of the modern era with the YouTube shit and the internet hyping something up and the internet and the websites and everything. And it was an incredible time to be a fan of a movie.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible. It was a really super fun time. Me personally, I don't read books. I'm not a good reader. I have to read books 3 times to absorb it. It's just how my brain works. I made a vow because I had never read the actual books. I was brought up on the cartoons, Frodo of the Nine Fingers, that stuff.
Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah. I vowed to myself that I would not go watch these movies unless I had read the book first for each one. So I gave myself a year to read each book.
Did you actually accomplish that?
I did. I did accomplish. But I had to read each one like 6 times.
They're thick.
I am a book reader.
Tolkien is not an easy read.
I couldn't read this.
Yeah. But
I tried and failed.
I kind of cheated.
But here's the thing. I'm glad I did, and I wasn't offended at anything that these movies did.
That's a great segue. I was going to talk about the difference because I did the Audible thing because that's how
I should do that.
Yeah, that's how I take in books is Audible. I don't have time to sit.
Audible wasn't a huge thing.
I know. Yeah, I know it wasn't, but I did the Audible books, and it's only one narrator, but I got to give him huge props because he does change his voice.
That is a challenge.
He changes his voice slightly, not a lot. It's not obnoxious like he's doing caricatures or anything like that, but he changes his voice and he sings all the songs that are in it.
Oh wow!
And all that kind of stuff. So huge props. I should look up what his name is, but anyway,
I'm looking it up right now. Andy Serkis.
No, that's the new
Gollum.
one. That's Gollum. It's before. I have the old version. I have
Andy Serkis. Yeah.
My
precious.
Yeah, but again, like the book.
Rob Inglis.
The director of Venom 2?
No. The differences between the movie and the book, they are there.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're like a hardcore purist for the books,
there's no farmer maggot.
There's things missing. Well, there's a farmer maggot in the extended edition.
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil is not in the movies, which I kind of would like to see him someday, but I don't feel like the changes that they made are offensive in any way. I think they really got the heart and soul of the books. They had to cut things out because it literally would have been like an 8-hour freaking movie.
Oh yeah, Peter Jackson. He was, we all talk about how directors and movies these days aren't respectful of the things that came before them, and Peter Jackson was even paid homage to the Ralph Bakshi that did the Ralph Bakshi cartoons that came out in like the 70s. He would recreate complete scenes from the cartoons and put them in this movie, like the scene where the hobbits are hiding under the tree and the ring wraiths are looking for him on the road. That's a straight rip right from the cartoon.
Well,
and stuff like that in that movie just completely endeared me as a fan to these movies. It's incredible what he did.
What's interesting is that Peter Jackson had never read the books, and he wasn't a book fan, but he loved the Ralph Bakshi cartoon, and that's what inspired him to want to work on this. Was his experience growing up watching the Ralph Bakshi thing, which is basically a rotoscoped cartoon where they would film people and then they would just draw over them.
I have a deep love for that movie. It's weird. It's not great, but it's what I had.
And in fact, the only person who was actually like a huge dyed-in-the-wool book fan that worked on this film was Christopher Lee, who actually knew Tolkien. Like he was friends with the guy. He read the Lord of the Rings trilogy every single year up to him dying.
He played Sauron, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
and he was like the biggest Lord of the Rings super fan, and for him to get involved with the movie, I think was like a dream come true.
Yeah, that's a really
awesome.
big catch. That was awesome. I remember learning about him after the movie came out. I was like, oh, this, because I mean, this is my era, like, early 2000s. I was just growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Hammer horror legend.
Yeah, I didn't know much about Christopher Lee until, I mean, I probably was like, holy shit, that's freaking Count Dooku from, Revenge of the Sith or whatever. But then I learned about him and his backstory with Lord of the Rings and how much of a freaking super fan he was.
He had a really good run right up before he passed.
Yeah, he did, dude.
He was on some really cool shit.
He was doing death metal
Oh,
music videos.
yeah, I know.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Of course, Vader knows that.
He's a metalhead, dude.
Yeah, he is.
You knew that he was like Dracula, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he's the
The old Hammer movies.
Yeah, old classic Dracula.
Oh, really? Oh, God, I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you guys have been nerding out for so long. I thought it was time
Yeah, please take it away.
For me to step in and tell you my story. So I remember when I first saw this, and I knew nothing about the source material or Peter Jackson or Tolkien. I knew nothing. It's 2001, and so I went with my boyfriend at the time, who I'm still friends with, and like a big group of people. We all went to the movies, and he was like, and he was a big fan of the source material, and he was like, we're going to see Lord of the Rings. And I was like, 3-hour movie. All right. So we saw it. And then when the movie ends, like, I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, that's it? What do you mean? It's over? And he was like, relax, it's 3 movies. And I was like, okay, well, let's go see the next one. And he was like, it's not made yet.
Yeah.
And so while I was watching this last night, I was thinking about the first time that I saw it. So I texted him. He's my good friend Noel, and he's married now, and I'm friends with his wife too. So I texted him, and I was like, hey, thinking of you, watching Lord of the Rings, remembering like when we went to see it. And he was like, yeah, I remember when you stood up in the theater and yelled, that's it?
Nice.
It's funny because me and my film school buddies, like, I had just graduated from college when this movie came out, and we all went to go see it together. And, like you said, long movie. And the minute it was over, we all kind of left the theater, and we were standing outside the theater, and we're like, let's go see that again.
Yeah.
Like, turned back around, went and watched it again in the theater. And it was such an amazing, like, cinematic experience, because up to that point, fantasy had just been kind of relegated to, like silly movies, like kids movies and stuff like that. And this movie brought high fantasy into the mainstream.
Yes, it
did.
And it completely changed the way people look at epics and trilogies and all this other stuff. But it's kind of interesting because the whole story behind how this movie got made is also incredible.
Yeah, I want to talk about Hobbiton real quick. Just the openings, basically the opening like 30 minutes or 40 minutes of this movie.
I can watch the first half hour of this movie.
Yeah,
by itself on its own.
If they were like, hey, we have a 2.5 hour cut of the Hobbiton birthday party with Bilbo, I'd be like, yeah, it's so freaking gorgeous.
I want to go vacation.
I want to go. Yeah, go to New Zealand. I'm like, I want to take a vacation. Can I stay in one of the Hobbit holes? Because
yes, I think you can.
I want to do that.
but more than that, like, this has the most brilliant opening of any movie I've ever seen, because it sets the stage for the fantasy land. Like, if you're not familiar at all with Tolkien's work, it gives you everything you need to know going into the movie, and it does it in such a short, brilliant amount of time. But it hits all the right notes, and I so wish that sci-fi and fantasy movies and TV shows would take a cue from this and just like spend a little bit of time setting the stage for the world that we're going to be living in.
That opening narration by Kate Blanchett,
well,
right?
she basically she explains the whole thing in 3 minutes.
Here's the
I want to
backstory.
talk about her too, but please continue.
Yeah, we'll get to her when we go into the woods and we talk about the freaking.
Like, here's your exposition dump. This is what's going on.
Yeah,
and let's roll.
Yeah,
and that's all we need.
It's great because you start off with this big, huge battle against the Dark Lord, and it's this whole epic backstory. All the elves,
but they actually show you the map of the world,
and
so like the geography within like just a couple seconds.
Just the art of the map itself.
Yeah,
like
it's right from the book.
Yeah,
it's ripped from the book.
Yeah, I could hang that.
Yeah.
I need
absolutely.
that back here.
But you know all the races, you know their histories, their relationship with one another. You get to see the battle with Sauron. I mean, like everything that you need to know going into this story is set up within the first 10 minutes of
and then you cut to Hobbiton, and you're just like, oh.
I want
to live there.
Look at all the little people with curly hair and hairy feet. Yes, it's awesome.
Did you know everyone in this movie wears a wig? Yeah. And they had to like import like millions of pounds of hair from Russian women to New Zealand in order to make all these wigs. So like there were all these Russian girls just shaving their heads for money.
Oh my God.
That's
for
my
this movie.
hair.
That's
in The
amazing.
Hobbit. Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole scene with Bilbo, what's the actor's name who plays Bilbo? He's super famous, I know.
Sir Ian Holm.
Ian Holm. He's freaking awesome as Bilbo. Like that whole scene where he stands up in front of the whole Hobbiton and he gives this little speech.
Right out of
It's
the
like, that's straight out of the book. The only thing that's missing is that in the book it's explained that he has a cold.
What does he say? It's like I don't know most of you as much
Well,
as I should.
as I was like when I like
Something- yeah,
less than
I forget.
half of you, half as much as you deserve, or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And everybody's like, wait, was that an insult
No,
or a
right,
compliment?
right.
And Gandalf is in the back just going, nice.
He's like, I'm out of here. Fuck all you guys.
Yeah.
He puts his ring on. It's like,
That was
You
amazing.
smoked too much of those halflings weed.
Yeah.
I want to smoke some halfling weed.
I want to smoke some. Dude,
That's some good Shire.
I saw.
know,
I
right?
watched a video of somebody handcrafting a Gandalf pipe. It was
that'd
like
be
super
awesome.
long. I'm like, I fucking need one of those so bad.
I like that scene where Bilbo. So Bilbo, yeah, he blows a smoke ring and
Oh, and Gandalf
Gandalf's
puts
like-
a ship through it.
a three-masted ship.
Yes.
It's like, get out of here.
Freaking wizards.
I know, stupid wizards.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it. But yeah, everything about this opening sequence in Hobbiton is just so gorgeous. All the practical sets, the actors,
Yeah.
everything about it. I'm just like, this is freaking. There's no flaws.
No,
No flaws at all.
Everything's scaled right.
Yeah, it's so great,
It's like,
dude.
How did they make him look like he was little in the cart next
He's
to?
actually farther away from
Oh,
the
yeah.
camera
Yeah,
than
it's
Gandalf is. It's so crazy how they did it. I love it, man.
So like they actually built Hobbiton like a year before they started production, so like it would have time to have like stuff grow over it. But one of the funniest bits is that so when Gandalf first enters Bilbo's little hobbit hole, he turns and he hits his head on one of the beams.
Yeah.
That actually happened to Sir Ian McKellen, and he just acted through it, and so it was like a complete like blooper. But Peter Jackson loved the way that he like kind of recovered from it. That
Yeah.
he was like, I'm going to leave that in
Oh,
the
it's
movie.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of fit the character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he legit hurt himself.
What a solid
Yeah,
guy.
I remember watching on following on the websites and stuff when they were building the sets because they would have like insider scoops, pictures. People would send like pictures from behind the scenes and stuff, and you could see them like moving dirt and putting hobbit doors and shit on things. And yeah, it was interesting.
Well,
man.
what
It
was funny is
awesome.
when we were watching the movie last night, as soon as Gandalf appears on screen, Jude says, "Oh, look, it's Dumbledore."
How dare you?
He would have made a
Well,
great Dumbledore.
wasn't I remember Harry Potter came out about the same
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah, and he was offered the role of Dumbledore,
Yeah.
and he turned it down.
Good.
Well, you know who turned down the
You
role?
know what?
I'm going to hate on Harry Potter.
Don't be talking shit about Harry Potter. Yeah.
Dick knows.
What are you looking at, Dick Nose?
You know who was offered the role of Gandalf, who like long before Sir Ian McKellen got involved?
Was it Dumbledore?
No, it was Sean Connery. And,
Oh, that's right.
and
Yes.
Sean Connery didn't understand the books; he didn't get it, and so he was like, "I'm not going to do this."
Yeah.
And so
I feel like that's a good choice.
I think he made the right choice.
well, other actors, so like Sam Neill was at one point up for the role of
no,
Gandalf.
no.
He's a
And-
New Zealander, so.
Yeah, and like there's like a long list of people who were up for it, and then Sir Patrick Stewart turned down the role, but he recommended Sir Ian McKellen, who's like his best buddy.
He's like,
And-
we're both knights. I think he would get it.
Yeah, Ian, there's no other Gandalf in my.
Yeah.
There really
pitch
isn't.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
exactly what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
from the "Thou you shall not pass" scene, I was sold forever. It's like,
it wasn't even that. It just,
yeah, it
just
was
him and Bilbo
yeah,
hanging
it was
out.
just
Like, yeah, in his range, like he's funny, silly, interacting with the hobbits.
he brings such a.
And then he's like torn and
Yeah.
he's tough.
He
and
he brings.
fierce.
I want to call it a menacing charm
Yes.
to the
Oh,
role.
you do not fuck with Gandalf.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like he's the sweetest old dude in the world, but if you do not fuck with
Yeah,
him,
there's this.
Yeah.
There,
It's
a
just-
perfect example of that is when Bilbo's,
right, yeah,
Bilbo's
yeah.
stressing out about the ring, right? And he's like, "You just want it for yourself." And he goes, "Bilbo Baggins,"
yeah,
and the
so-
freaking room gets dark, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit!"
I love the relationship that Frodo has with him. Like Frodo has a different relationship with him than anyone else does,
Yeah.
and he like knows the softer side of Gandalf. But like you know that Gandalf is a badass because everyone else is like, "Oh shit,
It's Gandalf.
it's Gandalf!
he's got the cool fireworks.
Please don't turn me into anything."
Yeah. Please don't turn me into a toad.
Something unnatural.
Yeah. It's all, yeah.
We could go for hours.
Gosh, okay, yeah, we got to move
this
on.
This whole
So
cast is just incredible.
The cast is perfect. Even Elijah Wood.
So talking about the cast, I want to talk about Vigo.
Okay.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, Viggo
Mortensen. So originally, they start shooting with a completely different actor in the role of Aragorn.
Really?
Yes. The actor that they cast was Stuart Townsend, who you might know as Lestat from Queen of the Damned, and also Dorian Gray from The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't like it.
And so like he was like a younger Aragorn, and like I think they did like 3 weeks of shooting with him, and Peter Jackson was just like, this isn't working. He's too young.
I feel like he's so similar to Orlando Bloom too that it wouldn't have worked.
Probably.
I feel kind of bad for the dude because you imagine?
That's a huge career boost.
Yeah. So basically, Peter Jackson decided to fire him and replace him with someone new. And so Viggo Mortensen was actually like a last minute kind of, come into to the production, and he only agreed to do it because his son said, "Dad, you have to do this."
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay. So like he came in and he kind of changed like the way that they were shooting, because the way that this movie was shot was just crazy. They had like, typically on a big budget movie, you have like three
unit director.
Yeah, unit director. 3 units going. So you have like the main unit, which is run by the main director, and then you have like 2 second unit, second, third unit, whatever.
That's the perfect amount of units.
This movie was shooting with 5 to 7 different units. Because they were shooting all 3 movies at the same time. That was something that wasn't really like done.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys, all the whole crew moved to New Zealand for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So they could film these shows.
And a lot of actors that they approach, like big name actors, actually turned down roles in it because they would have to be in New Zealand for so long. Like Nicolas Cage, like he was like, I can't be away that long.
It's a commitment, man.
What part did they offer Nicolas Cage?
Aragorn.
Get out.
Yeah.
No.
No.
So, he would have ruined the whole production. Listen, Peter Jackson, like, I really need to do it my way.
You really need to give me that ring.
So
I'm going to go kill these orcs, but, He's like,
So basically, Viggo Mortensen comes in and he's like, I'm going to do all my own stunts. I'm going to be doing this and that. And, he actually got like injured a couple of times. Like he chipped a tooth, he broke a toe, broke a rib, something like that.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was just like the input that he had in this movie, like in the final climactic scene against the main Uruk-hai. Originally, that character was added so that you could have like a face for the enemy because it's not in the books.
Nope.
And when Aragorn has his final face-off with this guy, Viggo Mortensen went to Peter Jackson. He's like, I want to cut off his arm, and then I want to behead him after he throws a knife at me that I bat away with my sword. And so like that whole final scene was, kind of conceptualized by Viggo Mortensen. And Jude actually stood up and cheered when he defeated the Uruk-hai by cutting off his head.
That freaking guy was so badass, though. When he grabbed the sword and like pulled it in. Savage.
You were like, fuck yes.
Do you guys know?
That sounds just like me.
Do you guys know not intentional almost accident that happened with that scene? I'm sure Kadish knows. I guarantee.
I probably do too, but I don't remember.
So that knife was supposed to be a prop knife that the Uruk-hai throws at Viggo, and it wasn't. It was the actual metal knife, and he actually blocks it.
Yeah.
And that clang of metal was freaking real from
it sounds real.
Also,
I've heard way too many stories about prop weapons that were not prop, and people got injured or killed.
Well, Viggo insisted on using an actual real sword, not a prop sword, and that was like one of the things that he like brought to the role, where he was like, I want to feel the weight in my hand.
He's a crazy person.
Use that, and that's
I love it.
That's also one of the reasons why like he got injured was like he's just like fully committing to the role.
Safety be damned.
Yeah.
Let's make this a movie.
I've still got 9 good fingers. It's fine. Keep going.
There's no role in this movie that I can see any other actor playing in any of the roles.
Yeah.
It was so perfectly cast. And, I probably would have said that about any actor at this point, 20 years later. But I mean, I can't say Nicolas Cage, but Orlando Bloom.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Fellowship. That's a perfect segue.
Sure.
Yeah, the whole Fellowship. Orlando Bloom as Legolas.
And this was like pre-famous Orlando Bloom.
Well, he had just graduated from acting school.
He's perfect. He's the perfect elf.
This is before Pirates,
and
before
just
everything.
Going to Peter Jackson's attention to detail, like so in the books, elves are they're like magical people that they don't have any weight to them. So there's actually scenes in this movie where everybody else is like trudging like waist deep through some snow.
And he's walking on top
of it, just like chilling. Like there's so much attention to detail, but Orlando Bloom is perfect. Freaking God damn it, the
Gimli.
dude from Indiana Jones who plays Gimli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. What's his name?
His name
I
is
should know his name.
I know, I should too.
John Rhys Davies.
Yeah.
He's yeah.
3 shots of Jack.
He's also, it's funny because he was also the tallest actor out of all of them.
No way.
He was like 6'1".
That's awesome. And they made him, dude, the freaking filming is perfect, man.
Nobody tosses a troll.
Yeah.
Nobody
a
tosses
dwarf.
A dwarf. Oh yeah.
Sorry, we're all drinking. Jude's hungover. You have to forgive us.
I'm doing the best I can.
There's so much to gush over.
And
about
Sean
this.
Beam.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It dies.
that guy dies
Of course
in
he does.
everything.
Of course he does.
Spoiler, if you haven't seen it in the last 20 years, Sean Bean dies in everything.
What's funny is that so like the meme of like Sean Bean dying and everything.
You just don't walk into Mordor.
They asked a reporter asked him one time, was like, "What's your favorite death out of all the deaths that you've done?" And he was like, "Fellowship of the Ring."
Yeah.
You know, there's you guys know I don't get emotional.
Did you get emotional with him?
Every time I see
Really?
that movie, it's like a Kirk Spock moment.
Wow.
Every time I see that scene, I get a little emotional. I don't gotta get stupid or anything, but you know, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it in your gut where he says he's his king and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
My friend,
And-
my captain, my king.
Yeah, and you're like, wow, I'm getting a little lit right now thinking about it. But
I am
it's,
now
it's,
and have
it's,
always been.
well, it's
your
kind of
friend.
it's
Yeah.
kind of the same vibe. You know,
They were kind of frenemies at first, though.
well, yeah,
And they, you know, another thing
Yeah.
that this movie, I don't think really translates the amount of time that passes for these people. Like you
Yeah.
feel like, oh, it's been a couple of, you know, they're hiking through whatever. It's been maybe a couple weeks. It's like years.
Yeah.
No, well,
Like when
it's
Gandalf
months.
leaves
It's
Hobbiton
months
and says, I'll be back, I'm going to go do research. It's like 30 fucking years
oh, well,
in the books. Like he's gone for a
Yeah.
long ass time. And then he comes
I'd
back.
have to go back and read because I don't remember that part. But I mean, I know it's a while.
Frodo's like in his 60s, I want to say, by the time he
Is
actually
he that old?
Yeah, when
Really?
he goes on the adventure. Yeah, I think. I mean,
I think you need to be fact checked there. But
I might need to be.
You might be right.
I wouldn't be upset if somebody
It's
fact checked
okay.
me. It'd be okay.
But yeah,
Pop
man,
it in the
just-
comments.
Yeah.
There's Jude, you wanted to talk about the elf lady. Fuck, I'm losing my mind.
Galadriel.
Galadriel.
Yeah, I did. She's amazing. Kate Blanchett. Like
Absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
I
Everything like that.
love her in everything, and I think that she is gorgeous and beautiful and ethereal in everything that she does. But in this, she is. God, do your thesaurus thing again. She is on another fucking level.
Yeah.
Like she's just so fucking pristine, and I love her in this.
That scene where she goes a little crazy.
Oh,
Oh.
She's
freaky.
amazing.
Yeah.
I need a better word for amazing. Thesaurus it. I cannot take my eyes away from her. Like in every scene that she's in, and like Liv Tyler is amazing in it too. And like honestly, everyone is fucking
Oh,
perfect.
Liv Tyler.
You know,
But Kate Blanchett is just so goddamn amazing and beautiful and
how about,
perfect.
How about prodigious?
Better,
Unbelievable.
better,
Stunning.
stunning. She's stunning.
Shocking.
She's shockingly stunning. She's just amazing in it, and she's just perfect. And I love how much Elven everyone is like talking throughout the movie.
Yeah. You know, all of the elves in these movies are perfectly cast.
Perfect.
They all have the long, kind of lanky facial structure that looks good with the pointy ears and the long hair. They all got the same hairdo. But you know, every elf in all of these movies, they have a certain angular, lanky body type, and they all were just perfectly cast. And yeah, it's just
There's
it's really good.
There's another scene that really always kind of it's like that perfect almost horror element when they're in the caves with
Moria.
Gimli, of Moria, and he goes in there and he's like, we'll have a royal welcome. And he gets in there, all his family's freaking dead.
Oh yeah.
Like they're walking through and
His
he's
cousins.
like, no.
All his
He
cousins.
freaks out. You know,
and the
they're
Mines
family.
of Moria were based off of M.C. Escher drawings, which I thought was very interesting. And the thing I love about the Mines of Moria scene is like, as soon as they see all the dwarves are dead, they're like, we're getting out of here.
Yeah.
Nope.
And when they try to leave, that octopus
Squid
thing,
thing, yeah.
like shows up and traps them inside the cave. And so they're forced to go through. And I'm like, you know, it's just so good to see like good writing, because like most movies don't even bother with that type of like plot logic.
Who did
was-
the screenplay?
So it was Philippa Boyan and Fran Walsh,
Okay.
and one of them is
Fran Walsh.
Peter Jackson's wife.
Oh.
And so like the three of them all kind of wrote it together. But they were like rewriting it on set like day to day because like the production was just so like hectic. And
This is
there
a
was so
rare
much stuff
example
going
of
on.
when that works.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Well,
Usually you hear stories about when they're writing things as they're filming it, like it doesn't work and you can tell.
yeah, like
But this is
I
amazing.
would hear stories where like the two other writers besides Peter Jackson would just be in the hotel and they'd be like going over like, you know, what are we going to be shooting tomorrow? And they'd make sure that everything made sense and was like book accurate and stuff like that. And like they go on set and shoot it. So, I mean, there was so much stuff going on with this production, but the fact that this production actually happened was an amazing story in and of itself. I just want to tell you guys about it real quick.
Go ahead.
So basically this movie was originally going to be a Miramax production and they spent like $14 million kind of developing it with Peter Jackson, and it was Harvey Weinstein's baby. And Harvey Weinstein didn't like Peter Jackson, and he was constantly trying to like replace him with someone like Quentin Tarantino. And he basically went to Disney and he's like, hey, we got this Lord of the Rings property. We want to, make it into a movie. And Disney would only kind of approve about $100 to $180 million for one movie. And so Harvey Weinstein went to Peter Jackson and he was like, okay, you have to make all three books into one movie and you get $180 million to do it. And Peter Jackson was like, fuck you.
Rightly so.
And so like what Peter Jackson did is he leaked all of the script and materials that they had spent $14 million developing to a website called Ain't It Cool News.
Yep.
And Drew McSweeney, I believe, who was the guy who all this stuff was leaked to, he did a big post. And at the time, Ain't It Cool News was like the most influential movie website on the internet. And he basically said like, this movie needs to be 3 movies. And so basically it kind of undermined Harvey Weinstein's efforts to get this movie made. And so once everything was leaked, they were like, fuck it, we don't want to do it anymore. And so that freed up Peter Jackson to start shopping it around town. And he went to New Line Cinema. And at the time, because like fantasy wasn't a big thing and, it was going to be a really expensive production, they were pitching it as 2 movies. And when they pitched it to the New Line Cinema people, they were like, this should really be 3 movies. And Peter Jackson was like, yes. Thank you. and
You
so,
are correct.
Yes. And so like, that was kind of like how this got made. And Peter Jackson, for years before like Harvey Weinstein's bad behavior kind of came to light, he would be screaming at the top of his lungs like Harvey Weinstein's a scumbag, like nobody should work with him. He's a terrible person. But he was so powerful that nobody really paid attention to that until, But this could have been a Harvey Weinstein production of
God,
Lord
I'm
of the
so
Rings.
glad it wasn't.
I'm so glad it wasn't one movie trying to
that
do
would've
the whole
been-
story. That would have been insane. So the caves
The Mines of
Mines of
Moria.
Moria, that whole God, it's so freaking cool. That element where where Pippin, is it Pippin or
Mary.
Mary? Somebody drops the skeleton down the well or whatever, and that whole scene where like, fool of a took, like, why don't you throw yourself next time, save us the misery or whatever. And then that whole battle sequence starts. That moment where Boromir's like, they have a cave troll, and I'm sitting there going, what the fuck does a cave troll look like? And then you see this thing come in and you're like, holy crap. And that whole battle sequence is just so freaking cool to watch. Like I'm on the edge of my seat every time.
And again, it's one of those situations where the character was fully CGI, and that was something that was not normal back
And
then.
It looks good, man.
It still looks good. It's just now starting to show a little bit of age, but
it looks fine.
the lighting is perfect because it's in a cave, so you can kind of get away with a little bit of things, but it's so freaking
The whole Moria took this movie next level.
dude, the Balrog.
Because when the Balrog shows up, I was like,
yeah.
holy
Because
shit.
they
You shall not.
Dude, they
I mean,
save it though.
Even the scene where they're getting chased down the stairs and
it's
they're
tilting and they
oh,
jump.
it's like
Nobody tosses a dwarf.
I get nauseous every time I see that scene.
Yeah.
To this
So
day.
when the cave troll showed up, Kadish said, kind of looks like Russell. And legit, as he was saying it, I was thinking to myself, cave troll's kind of cute.
Russell, our dog.
Yeah, the dog
Yeah.
Russell.
So can we talk about the Council of Elrond?
In a second, one more thing about the Balrog. I love how they kept it. They just sprinkled it in there a little bit at a time. And you're like, what the frick is chasing them? All you see is like
the orange fire glow.
The orange fire. And you're like, what is that? And then finally when it
all
comes
all the goblins like scatter.
Get
and
the
like,
horns and the breath of fire. And it's like, oh my God. And then the wings expand. And you're like, holy shit.
That's
and Gandalf is just like, no, bitch.
Yeah.
This is my house.
It's like, I got this, guys.
It's like that big ass fire demon.
Yeah, it is.
One of the brilliant things Peter Jackson did was he hired the original illustrators for all of JRR Tolkien's work. And, so like people who grew up on Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, every single monster in this movie, every single troll, orc, location, they inherently recognized them because they grew up looking at the illustrations that were just like that.
Yeah. God, it was so freaking good. And that scene's probably one of the most famous scenes in cinema history.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You shall not pass.
It's absolutely iconic. Yeah. It's right up there with the I Am Your Father. It's right up there with I'm Your Father.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. What were you going to say, Katie?
I wanted to talk about the Council of Elrond.
Go for it.
I love that scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hey, remember the Council of Elrond?
Yeah.
That was cool.
It was really cool.
That was cool.
It was really neat. No, but that was a cool scene though, because that was when we got fully introduced to all the different races and stuff that were
and all the main
characters.
Yeah.
Halfway through the movie, we got all the main characters to show up.
And what's funny is like if this were a normal movie and this kind of stuff happened, because this movie also has like 3 endings, but I don't mind.
No, it's just this movie's entirely it's a prologue. It's like it's Dune.
Yeah,
it's like the Dune movie,
kind of.
So, but we all know where this one was going, and we all knew that there was 2 other movies coming out in 12 more months. You didn't know this? Yeah, I
was a young nerd. Times were different.
I mean, we like I said earlier, we could gush about this movie for hours. I don't know what else we want to say.
I don't know.
Frodo and Sam. It's an iconic relationship.
I mean, like getting back to the Council of Elrond, though, like I just love like it's so rare to get like a scene where everyone's sitting around a table and they're just talking about, okay, what's the rest of the movie going to be? And we get to see the the rivalries between the different races. We get to see the prejudices. Hugo Weaving as like the head elf guy, like he's just
awesome.
like amazing,
so good.
But then you have that iconic Boromir meme where he's like, one does not simply walk into Mordor.
Yeah.
and everyone starts arguing, and you can see like how Gandalf is just like defeated because he's like, if we can't come together, the evil has already won. And then Frodo has his hero moment where he's just like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
What?
And you could see like
the pain on Gandalf.
The pain on Gandalf. Like, oh God, I don't want to put this kid through this.
Yeah, because he knows what he's going to be facing.
Yeah. Oh God, so freaking awesome.
But he knew he was the only one that could do it. I think.
Yeah, I think it was their only option. He was trying not to let that be the case, but it's kind of inevitable.
Yeah. Also, the wizard fight scene between Saruman and Gandalf.
See, this is the only little bit of salt that I have. I thought that scene where Gandalf was fighting Saruman was a little goofy. I watch it.
The spinning?
The spinning thing. And like, it was the quick cuts.
Yeah.
Because you know how I hate quick cuts in action scenes. So like they would have McKellen's face and then it would cut and it would see Christopher Lee's face. And it would just like bounce back and forth and you'd be like, blah, blah.
So in my head, I think for the time, I think it was fine. It was like, I remember watching, so this is what it looks like when 2 wizards fight each other.
Yeah.
I don't think the technology was quite there to where
they could pull something
they
off.
wanted to show what we want. Because like today, I watch shows like Wheel of Time on Amazon. There's a lot of wizard fights on that show. And it's really cool how they do it with the wispy little entrails of their magic and the smoky things. I could totally have seen something like that in the scene where they fight.
Yeah.
But it wasn't there. They didn't have that tech then.
And I think it was supposed to disorient you.
Well, it was also, that was never in the books. That was something that they added into the movie. But it was cool to get to see it because in the books, like the fact that Gandalf is a wizard, his magic's kind of very understated. Like he doesn't really use like fireballs or anything like that. So in the movie, they kind of like made it a little bit more of a thing where like they're using magic and they're using their staffs. But it was also just like Christopher Lee versus
Ian McKellen.
Epic.
I will say, like, I do think nowadays they would definitely add some kind of a mystical element as CGI goes. That wasn't really my issue with it, because I kind of like the fact that, like, it's magic. You're not. I don't know if you're necessarily supposed to be able to see that coming. It's just like
I just think
it's just this force that hits you.
We're a visual.
Yeah, but
people.
more it was just the way they choreographed it was a little goofy for me. I'm not like, if everybody else is out there like, you're crazy, I totally get it. It's just a me thing.
Speaking of visuals and choreography and stuff like that, one of the things that really struck me, and it's always something that's made me a fan of Peter Jackson's work, is his use of slow motion in this movie. Like, we're used to kind of like the Zack Snyder version of slow motion, where it's like 50 minutes of the 60-minute movie is slow motion. But if you look at how Peter Jackson utilizes it, so like in a build up to like a big kind of fight scene, you see a lot of slow motion to kind of build that tension. And then during a fight scene, you'll see slow motion where he wants to really accentuate the action that's happening. And he uses it very liberally. Like, there's a lot of slow motion in this movie, but it's never something that takes you out of the moment. In fact, it's something that enhances the emotion of the moment of the stuff that you're watching.
The scene where Strider fights off the ring wraiths, there's a lot of slow motion in that scene.
Yeah, it's great.
Damn, is it good?
It's great.
And
contrast that with how Zack Snyder uses slow motion. And it's just like it's like night and day.
Or the big hero moment when they're coming over and the music swells, dun 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 dun, and they're walking up the hill and you see all the whole crew. It's like,
or what about that part where the ring race are at the river with Arwen? Is that her name?
And she starts speaking Elvish, and you're like, oh shit.
But
again, right out of the comic book.
But
right out of the cartoon.
All the ring race like simultaneously pull out their swords, and it's all in slow motion. You're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, and she's like, you want him? Come and get him. And I'm like, freaking out, dude.
Yeah, now you got me thinking about his little homages to the
cartoons and stuff.
So like, I'm thinking the river scene was like a straight rip from there. The scene on the road where the ring wraith is
just climbing over
and the other one was when they were entering the mines of Moria, where the octopus creature attacked them. That to me is also right out of the cartoons. And I'm sure there's more, but those three really stand out.
Some of the scenes from the Hobbit party, shot for shot, were from the Bashki cartoon.
And I think the scene with the Elf Queen, where she goes like a little psycho for a minute, that's from I remember that being in the cartoon.
Yeah.
It's just, God damn it, this freaking.
We need to talk about Sam and Frodo really quick.
Let's do it.
Just the relationship building they had with those two, it made everybody care. And it wasn't a weird. Everybody. I get tired of everybody. Oh well, they're gay and all this kind of stuff. They're not.
No, they're not.
They're just.
Sam has a wife and a kid.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's just two people who cared about each other. They're best friends.
It's a brotherly love.
It's a brotherly thing, and the way that Elijah Wood and
Sean Astin.
The way they played off each other during all of these movies was amazing. Yeah. The two of them together, they carried.
Well, Sam,
they carried a third of this whole thing. It's just them, and it's an amazing.
I think
performance.
Sam is a better friend than Frodo, because Frodo tries to ditch Sam multiple times.
Frodo's also being influenced by the ring, and it's also because he doesn't want Sam to get hurt.
Like the whole reason that Frodo tries to ditch Sam throughout the saga is for Sam's own good. And Sam just
won't have it.
Sam's like, nope, I made a promise to Mr. Gandalf, and I'm gonna keep it.
He's like, Sam, I'm going alone. Of course you are, and I'm going with you.
But I gotta go to cook the potatoes.
Potatoes.
That's
the next movie.
Next movie.
We'll talk about that next year. The relationship with Sam and Frodo is pitch perfect.
Although I will say my one bit of salt in this is Merry and Pippin, because like,
you think they're overly goofy?
Well, they're a little comic relief.
Well, but everything that like gets messed up in these movies is because of them. Like, they're cooking the second breakfast to alert the ring race where they are. And
fourth lunch.
Think he knows about second breakfast? What about afternoon tea?
I love hobbits. They're awesome. Got my 12 meals a day.
That scene. I wanted to grab a pint of beer, because that scene where he's like, where they're sitting at the table together, like, what is that? It comes in pints. It's like this.
Can you imagine how big a pint would look?
I know.
To a little dude?
That's amazing.
They probably used to drink little 8-ounce beers.
Yeah.
And Mary's like, I want one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get one. Oh God, this. Let's see, what else can we talk about? The ending fight scene. We talked about that already.
The ring wraiths are awesome.
Ring wraiths are great.
Goblins, orcs.
Yeah.
Just the dark side of this movie. It's just epic. Just the towers and this castle.
That's the. I wanted to real quick.
just-
We would be remiss if we did not talk about the freaking soundtrack in this movie.
Oh, incredible.
The Dark Side soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
Dun dun dun, dum dum dum. Like I could freaking. It gives me chills. It gives me goosebumps every time.
This soundtrack it's iconic. It's right up there with Star Wars.
I forget the name of the composer who worked on this, but originally they wanted to get the guy who did all the Star Trek movies, Robert Horner.
James Horner.
James Horner, and he was booked up, and so they went with a different guy who was known for more of like his like thriller scores, and everyone's just like, you're using him for like a high fantasy science fiction thing. And everyone thought it was a weird choice, but again, Peter Jackson's genius. He's like, I think this guy can do it.
These movies were like the perfect storm. They all came together. All these like weird, obscure kind of, some of them established,
brand new
some
actors.
of them brand new.
Yeah.
Everything gelled with these, and it worked, man. And to this day, 20 years later, I can't imagine them even remaking this and recasting these people.
No.
I can't do it.
It hasn't aged. It's that line that Gandalf says, "You haven't aged today."
And you know what really stood out to me in this is, so like all the night scenes are so well lit. Like you can actually see stuff in the night scenes.
Yeah.
But we're fast forward to today, it's we've regressed, because like when you have like Game of Thrones season 8, where like things happen at night, and they're like, you can't
watching
see anything.
When the ring wraiths are chasing them through the forest. Like it's a completely dark scene, but you have that one.
The lights are set up perfectly.
The lights are perfect. You can see everything that's happening. Like there's elements of it that are completely black, but it has enough light on the side.
Peter Jackson knows how to make a movie.
Holy shit! Wow.
Well, it's like Hollywood used to know how to light night scenes.
I know, right? It's crazy.
I don't know. How much more shilling are we gonna do? For this
we can do this all day. We should probably wrap it up.
We could.
Well, we could definitely talk a little bit about the ending, which was, like Jude wasn't alone, and when people were in the theater and they're like, "What? That's it?
Yeah,
that's only like half a movie."
It's a third of a movie.
Yeah, third of a movie. And so like there were people out there that didn't know this was going to be a trilogy.
And I have nothing to say about those people, because they should know. Yeah. Everybody knew, or should have known, that this was part 1 of 3.
But I did think that the ending with the basically the breaking of the fellowship was an appropriate place to end
perfect
in the movie.
Yeah. The only thing I mentioned, this movie has 3 endings, but I don't really care. There's another ending where when Gandalf dies and they go to the woods and they're kind of like safe, like there's a lull in the story there where you could cut it at that point and pick it up afterwards. But they go through a couple.
No, they needed to break the fellowship.
Yeah. So
and that scene where Aragorn lets Frodo go after Frodo offers him the ring. Yeah. It was just like you could tell just through Viggo's performance, like how the weight of the choice, that not only does he have to pass the test and reject the ring, but he's got to let his friend go off and face his fate on his own when he swore to protect him. And, when they say like, I'd have followed you to the end. And he's like, I know. It's such a wonderful emotional moment.
And they don't ever see each other again.
Not till the end of the movie.
Yeah, until they're actually done. Because even like in Return of the King, where he's facing up against the Black Gates and he goes, for Frodo. Like he still hasn't seen him since this movie. It's been, that it's just a freaking powerful moment, dude. Yeah. So good.
Then they're gonna go hunt some orcs.
Okay. Oh, you know what we should talk about?
Go hunt some orcs.
Yeah. Yes. Dwarves are very fast on their feet. He's over there trudging away. The second movie is so great.
I felt so bad for Gimli. Trucking through the wilderness. It's like, move those little legs, man. Get moving. Trying to keep up with an elf. Get out of here.
Yeah. I want to talk about real quick the perfect amount of directors putting themselves in their own movies. Like Peter Jackson is in this movie. Yeah. He's in all 3 of them, I think.
He's got little cameos.
Tiny cameos. And he doesn't make a big deal about it. Like, I think in one of the movies, he's just sitting there, like, eating a carrot in the background. It's just like...
I do the same thing.
He's actually... he gets dressed up as orcs in some of the bigger battle
really?
scenes
I didn't know that. That's cool. I know one of the documentaries I watched were, like, for the practical effects side, like, they had people, a whole dedicated team just to make chainmail for people.
Oh, yeah.
That was their only job. Just sit here and make miles of chainmail.
You ever tried to make chainmail?
It's like knitting with metal.
I've tried. When I was like 16, I was a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, right? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to make myself some chainmail armor.
How far did you get?
I made a thing about this big, and it took me a day.
You were like,
and I'm like, fuck this. This is ridiculous.
About like 4 inches worth.
Yeah, no, for real. It was like a 4-inch square. And I'm like,
no.
For real. It's like great respect for prop makers out there.
Yeah, you know the mithril vest that Frodo wore. They only did the part like that went down this far, like down to his chest.
Yeah.
They didn't make an entire vest because it was
A pain
such
in the ass.
Tedious, man.
Yeah.
It's tedious work.
One of the special moments in this movie that always kind of scares the shit out of me is when Bilbo goes a little psycho for a minute.
Yeah.
He's like, can I see my old ring? And Frodo's like, no. And he's like, and he like freaks out on him.
Oh, Jude jumped at that.
Makes
part.
me jump every time. I've seen this movie hundreds of times. Every single time I jump.
But that also instantly explains how
Powerful the ring is.
Gollum turns into Gollum.
Yeah.
He used to be a normal dude.
Yeah.
And also the minute
messes you up.
that Bilbo gives up the ring, he starts aging again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just these little subtle hints at how powerful the ring is. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
So well done.
And how great is that? One ring to rule them all, one ring to bind them.
Tolkien is a genius.
Yeah,
He really was.
like that little kind of like, I don't know what you call it, mantra or saying. Like, it's so iconic. Like you hear it in your head and you're just like, fuck yeah. you
Yeah,
know?
dude. There's a
In the darkness, bind them.
yeah. Oh God.
Do we-
Ian McKellen saying that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like I will not utter the words in the native tongue.
Yeah.
What's up?
I was just thinking about my little nerd room back home. This is one of the few posters I have on my wall. I bought all these posters when they came out 20 years ago, and
I legit.
this is it, man. This is like
I want
to
the
this day.
map. I want the map of Middle Earth
yeah.
somewhere in our studio.
When we make a studio
when we make
someday,
it, yeah.
we'll put it
I
up
want
there.
that. All right, I think we've shilled for Lord of the
sure.
Rings enough. Everybody should know. I'm assuming, is this another 5-star for you?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, I was going to say, you're very stingy with your 5 stars.
This is easily a 5-star.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
Okay, cool. Kadish, 5-star movie?
Yes, this is a 5-star movie. I know Jude feels the same way. You know, revisiting this because I hadn't seen the movie in a long time, I was blown away at like just how good it really is. Like the level of craftsmanship and filmmaking that's on display here, in addition to storytelling, it's something that we're severely lacking nowadays. Where I feel like the new generation of filmmakers just doesn't understand how to do stuff like this.
This thing had the perfect mix of modern technology mixed with practical movie making. These are real people.
The other thing,
These are real people in orc costumes.
Yeah.
And some of them have really intricate armor for the close-up shots, and the ones behind the scenes, not so much. I mean,
Yeah.
but it was practical. There's a lot of practical effects in
Yeah.
this still, and
gives everything weight.
and this was a magical movie when it comes to that kind of stuff.
But
so.
I feel like we're never going to get another movie like this with the current crop of Hollywood filmmakers out there, because even though like they grew up on stuff like this, they didn't learn from it. And this is a trilogy that you could sit down and pick apart and make a masterclass in filmmaking from. And most filmmakers that are actively working in Hollywood nowadays would just gloss over this. Like they wouldn't take anything away from it. They'd be like, yeah, it's a good movie. But this movie is a classic. It's one of those movies, to me, a 5-star movie is a movie you can watch over and over again and never get tired of.
Never get tired of this movie.
That's this movie, 100%.
This is one.
Yep. I think part of that too is that CGI has gotten so good these days that people are over reliant on it. Like back in
100%.
in this time period when they were making this movie, like it was 100 years ago, when they made this movie, like, yeah, you could use CGI, but it wasn't like
20 years ago. That's a generation.
Well, you also got to, like, there weren't iPhones back when this
Yeah.
movie came out.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's tougher to do CGI stuff when this movie was made. So they didn't rely as heavily on it as opposed to nowadays, like, as an example, Dune. Gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
Probably like 90% CGI.
Yeah.
They're not a lot of practical,
Still good.
some of this
That was
still
still a
really
good
good.
movie,
Still
yeah.
really good. Solid. But
the camera on your iPhone is probably at the same quality as the camera that they used to shoot this movie.
that's so crazy to think about, dude. It's insane. We should make a movie.
Viking Cop.
We're not gonna make it. All right, that's it for Lord of the Rings 20th anniversary tribute. This was not a review. This is a tribute.
It's just a chit chat about one of our
Yeah,
favorite
it's just a
movies.
chit-chat.
It's a gushing.
Yeah, it's a chill. We're chill fest.
We're just vomiting goodness. Bleh, this movie rules.
If you're looking for
Our
criticism,
fans are going to hate this video.
yeah, if you're looking
that's
for
okay.
criticism of this movie,
But you know what? Our fans they all probably feel the same way about this movie.
I
as
would
we
hope
do.
so, yeah. I mean, you might have like small criticisms here and there, like me with the wizard fight. It just didn't quite work for me, but it's like so minimal that I'm like, it's not even important. I don't care. But yeah, goddamn, this movie's good. All right, Vader, where can the people find you, bud?
They can find me on the Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and probably other places, but I don't go to, at Matt Vader 74.
Right on. And Jude, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, on Twitter, and on TikTok. And check out our Facebook page at the Salty Nerd Podcast on Facebook.
Matthew Gadish, how about you, bud?
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. Kadishbooks.com takes you to my Amazon page. And also, if you go to saltylist.com, sign up for our newsletter. Everyone who signs up for the newsletter gets access to a private RSS feed for podcasts that we don't release publicly. So all of our newsletter subscribers basically get access to some very special Salty Nerd episodes that you can't get anywhere else. So go check it out. We do a newsletter every Friday giving you show notes and all that good stuff. And if we ever get taken off of YouTube because of something Matt Vader says, we'll be able to tell you where to find us.
Why is it my fault? It's always going to be my fault.
You know exactly why.
Probably is.
All right, guys. I'm your host, Alex the Salty Nerd. You guys can catch me on our Discord app. It's a publicly open Discord. You guys can jump in. We have a lot of great people there. Our community is awesome. We love hanging out with those guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We have like 60 some odd % of the people who watch our channel are not subscribed. So don't forget to hit that button down below. And leave a comment what you thought about the movies. And also join our club. We're doing a special offer for December where if you're a $30 club member, you get a special limited edition hat as well as a certificate and special Discord access, all kinds of perks. So yeah, jump in, guys. We really appreciate the support. We're trying to do this full time and we'd really appreciate the support. That's it.
Where's the Discord at again?
SaltyNerdDiscord.com.
Okay.
There you go. We got
Great,
we got a website for everything. Hashtag domain.
One ring to rule them all.
One domain to rule them all. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Have a great holiday season, and we'll catch you guys next time. Stay salty, my friends.